Good day, everybody. My name is Dana Massett. I'm going to be talking about chapter 3 of the book that we're reading, Taking the Leap. This book club, I've done many book clubs, even in person ones, and this one is turning out to be my favorite. And not just because of the book, but just the Facebook group that I created this time. People are discussing, people are adding comments, people are supporting each other, and this is the vision that I've always had. So I'm so happy this is what's happening. Chapter 3, it's hard to highlight what I want to put on the discussion board when we're doing the discussion because there's so many amazing aha moments that are hitting me through this book. Even if it's something that I've worked on already, the way that she puts it into words is so user friendly. So I'm so enjoying this experience. I hope you are too. Something I want to read on page 16. Here's how Shenpa shows up in everyday experiences. Somebody says a harsh word and something tightens in you. Instantly you're hooked. The tightness quickly spirals into the blaming of the person or basically dismissing yourself. So it's either your negative talk is being projected or internalized. The chain reaction of speaking or acting or obsessing happens fast. Maybe if you have strong addictions, you go right for your addiction to cover up the uncomfortable feelings. This is very personal. What was said gets to you, it triggers you. It might not bother someone else at all, but what is being talked about touches you in a sensitive sort of place. I'm skipping to the next paragraph, so I'm going to skip that middle one. If we catch it when it first arises, when it's tightening, a slight pulling back, a feeling of beginning to get hot under the collar, it's very workable. So basically what she's talking about, when the trigger comes on, and I talk about this so many times, when the trigger comes on, there's a heat, there's an energy that's brewing. Maybe it's from your hip, maybe it's from your solar plexus, maybe it's from your heart, maybe it's coming from your head. Whatever it is, if you can begin to identify by becoming mindful and self-aware of what the texture and the feeling is when triggers come on, you can begin to work with your trigger. So that's what she's talking about, is if you can catch it when it first happens, when it's brewing, it's still brewing, it's not pouring out of you, it's bubbling inside of you. You can work with it. Then we have the possibility of becoming curious about this urge to do the habitual thing, this urge to strengthen a repetitive pattern. We feel it physically intensely enough. It's never new. It always has a familiar taste. It has a familiar smell. If the trigger comes on, you feel the texture, you feel the brewing, and we've talked about this before last week about thinking that giving into the trigger, there's going to be a relief, there's going to be a release. And we're coming to the understanding and truth that there's no relief. You're just adding to the trigger, you're adding to the trauma. So if you can slow down enough and choose something differently, and again, we kind of touched upon this in the discussion board too, if you can do something different that maybe isn't totally high vibrational, say your trigger's over here and total high vibration, detached response is over here. If you choose a different response that's even close to your repetitive pattern, but it's a little bit different, that is evolution, that is healing, that is not giving into the trigger, that is not feeding the energy. Once you begin to feed your energy something different, the external world starts responding to that. So if you think that by changing myself internally, the way I react to the world, I begin to see the world differently. The world outside of me begins to react to me differently. It starts from inside. So it's almost as if we're taking our power back. So before we were reacting based on what people were saying, doing, and what the world was transpiring outside of us, so we would react to that. What about if we reverse that and we take the power back and we say, no matter what is happening in the world, I can always connect to joy. I can always connect to detachment. I can always connect to peace. I can always connect to choice. I can always connect to breath. So think about that. Ponder about what I spoke about and about triggers, and really start naming, and maybe in the comment section, naming what the energy of your trigger feels like. Is there a color? Is there a texture? Where does it start in your body? So start thinking about that. Namaste.